Have you ever wondered why your phone was designed in one country, built in another, and shipped from somewhere else entirely? Or why a crisis happening thousands of miles away suddenly makes your groceries more expensive? That's not random. That's world trade relations. And once you see how it works, you'll start noticing it everywhere. In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain world trade relations in the simplest way possible. No complicated economic terms, no boring textbook language. Just what it is, how it works, why countries depend on each other, and how it quietly affects your everyday life. By the end, you'll understand why global trade is basically the invisible system running the modern world. Right now, the world feels tense. You hear about trade conflicts between the United States and China. No, you see news about sanctions on Russia. You hear about supply chain problems after COVID. And somehow prices go up. Cars cost more, food costs more, electronics cost more. But none of this happens in isolation. The world today is deeply interconnected. Countries don't just trade occasionally, they depend on each other every single day. Think of the global economy like a giant web. If one strand shakes, the entire web vibrates. That's why understanding world trade relations isn't just for politicians or economists. It affects your job, your business, your investments, even the price of your coffee. So what exactly are world trade relations? In simple terms, it's how countries buy and sell goods and services with each other, and the rules they agree on to make that happen. Every country has things it's good at producing. Some grow food efficiently, some manufacture electronics, some produce oil, some specialize in technology or finance. Instead of trying to produce everything themselves, countries trade. It's actually very similar to how people cooperate. Imagine you're great at design and your friend is great at coding. Instead of both of you struggling to do everything alone, you specialize. You focus on what you're best at, and you exchange value. Countries do the same thing. Now you might ask, why don't countries just make everything they need themselves? Because it would be expensive and inefficient. For example, Brazil has strong agricultural production. Japan is known for advanced electronics and precision manufacturing. Saudi Arabia produces massive amounts of oil. It makes more sense for each country to focus on what it does best and trade for the rest. That focus on strengths makes products cheaper, faster to produce, and often higher quality. This is why international trade exists in the first place. Trade happens through exports and imports. Exports are goods or services a country sells to others. Imports are goods or services it buys from others. So if a country exports airplanes and imports electronics, money flows back and forth between those economies. But it's not just physical products. Services are traded too. Streaming platforms, software, financial services, tourism. Even when you subscribe to an app built in another country, you're participating in global trade. Now here's where relations become important. Countries don't just trade randomly, they create agreements. These agreements decide how much tax is added to imported goods, what standards companies must follow, and how disputes are handled. When countries have good relations, trade flows smoothly. Taxes on imports are lower, rules are clearer. Businesses feel more confident investing across borders. But when relations are tense, things change. Countries might increase taxes on foreign products to protect their own industries. They might place restrictions on certain goods. They might even apply sanctions to block trade entirely. This is sometimes called a trade war. Instead of using weapons, countries use economic pressure. If one country raises taxes on imported products, those products become more expensive. Consumers pay more. Businesses that rely on those imports face higher costs. And the other country often responds with its own restrictions. It becomes a back-and-forth cycle. And because the world is interconnected, other countries can feel the impact too. You might think, okay, that sounds like government-level stuff. Why does this matter to me? Here's why. Look at the phone in your hand. It probably wasn't made entirely in one country. The design might come from one place, the chips from another, the screen from somewhere else, the assembly from a different region. Then it's shipped across oceans before reaching you. That device exists because of stable trade relations between multiple countries. If one link breaks, because of political tension, tariffs or supply chain disruption, production slows down. Prices rise, availability drops. The same thing happens with energy. If oil-producing countries reduce supply or face sanctions, global oil prices rise. Higher oil prices mean higher transportation costs. Higher transportation costs mean businesses pay more to move goods. And those costs often get passed down to consumers. That's how something happening far away can affect what you pay at the pump or at the supermarket. Even your job might be connected. If you work for a company that exports products, your income might depend on foreign markets staying open. If you work in tech, you may rely on hardware or software services from different countries. If you run an online business, your payment processors, hosting services, or customers might be international. You are part of world trade relations whether you realize it or not. When trade is stable, products are abundant, prices tend to be lower. Businesses expand, jobs grow. When trade is unstable, shortages can happen. Prices rise, uncertainty increases. Companies hesitate to invest, growth slows. World trade relations quietly shape the economic environment around you. Let's make it even more concrete. Think about your smartphone again. Designed in one country, components from multiple others, assembled somewhere else, shipped worldwide. That level of coordination only works when countries allow goods and money to move relatively freely. Or think about your weekly groceries. Fertilizer for crops might be imported. Animal feed might come from another region. Fuel for tractors and trucks is tied to global energy markets. A disruption in any of those areas can influence food prices. Or imagine you run a digital business. You might sell to customers in different countries, use global advertising platforms, and rely on international software tools. You are benefiting from global trade infrastructure without even crossing a border. So, let's summarize. World trade relations are the systems and agreements that allow countries to exchange goods and services. Countries specialize in what they do best and trade for the rest, making products more efficient and affordable. And when trade relations are stable, the global economy feels smoother. When tensions rise, the effects show up in prices, supply, and economic confidence. Global trade isn't some distant political topic. It's the hidden engine behind modern life. Once you start seeing it, you realize almost everything around you is connected to it in some way. And that connection explains a lot more about your daily life than you might think. And now that you see it, you can't unsee it. Every product, every price change, every global headline, it's all connected. If this video helped you finally understand how the world actually works behind the scenes, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button so more people can see it too. And if you enjoy simple explanations about complex global topics, make sure you subscribe. Because in the next video, we're going to break down how trade wars actually start, and who really ends up paying the price. Trust me, it's probably not who you think. I'll see you in the next one.